Hey everyone, I want to welcome you to my YouTube channel where I talk about leadership and leadership qualities to help you develop and grow in leadership. If you're into that type of content, I want to encourage you to hit the subscribe button. Definitely go ahead and hit the notification bell, as today we are starting a 10-part series. I'm going to be covering the 10 qualities of a great leader. I believe there's a difference between a good leader, a great leader. We're going to talk about that today and jump into the first part of this 10-part series, again covering the 10 qualities of a great leader. Hey, welcome back to the channel. My name is Miguel. You know, for over 10 years, I've been working in leadership and in helping others, developing mentoring so they may effectively grow in leadership as well. Again, here on the channel, we talk about leadership qualities to help you develop and grow in leadership. Now, today is part 1 of a 10-part series where we'll be talking about qualities of a great leader. First of all, I'd like to define the word leader, then define a great leader, and then provide our first part of this 10-part series. All right, so number 1, what is a leader? A definition of a leader to me is the following. I believe it's a person that can connect the dots. What does that mean? It's not enough to know what the end goal is. And it's not enough for you to know what tools you'll need for that task. You also have to know how to get from point A to point Z. Unfortunately, a lot of people have awesome tools, awesome abilities, and they even have a great vision. They just don't know how to get there. I think this is where the leader comes in. The leader is a facilitator. You know, you think about a restaurant, you need that head chef. You got a bunch of chefs, but you need that head chef to say, this is how you get from point A to point Z. You think about a garage, you have many mechanics, but you still have that one head mechanic that says, this is how we get from point A to point Z. And I think that's where the leader comes in. The leader should be the individual who knows the end goal, those defined success levels, and at the same time should be aware of what his team or their team can present and say, okay, here's where we are, here's where we need to be, and this is how we make it happen. Again, thinking about the restaurant, you think about that head chef, you think about a garage, you have that person that's the head mechanic, right? The one running the whole thing. Doesn't do it by themselves, but they definitely have that guidance. Again, that's how I would define a leader. Simply put, someone that can connect the dots. Now, there's a difference between a good leader and a great leader. A good leader hopes things will come out okay. A great leader plans for their success. So a good leader simply hopes. They understand the end goal and they say, well, let's just see what happens. Let's make it happen. And it doesn't work that way. A great leader understands that they have to plan in order to be able to have sustainable success, to have longevity. Now, does that mean that the great leader won't have challenges? Not at all. It doesn't remove them from the reality that challenges will come through. In fact, they'll even have COVID-like challenges. And what do I mean by that? I mean that nobody in December 2019, as they were planning for January of 2020, nobody in the last quarter of the year was planning for this new year and said, man, we better get ready for COVID. Nobody was planning for that. That's an unforeseen circumstance. But what the leader, the great leader, does is that he listens, learns, and then leads. Again, the great leader plans their success. But then when a situation, a COVID type situation comes, they listen, they learn, and they lead. And so this is the difference between a good leader and a great leader. Where a good leader hopes things comes out okay, a great leader plans. And even in a situation COVID-like, they still listen, learn, and lead. Now, today we're entering into this first part of a 10-part series where we're talking about the 10 qualities of a great leader. And so again, I want to encourage you to hit the subscribe button and hit the notification bell so that you not miss not one of these videos. You get alerted immediately, and that way you stay up to date so you can develop and learn and grow as a leader. Now, quality number 1 is lead from the inside out. What does that mean? Lead from the inside out. Have you ever heard the statement that you can fool some of the people some of the time, but you can't fool all of the people all of the time? The fact of the matter is, if you're rotten on the inside, you're going to be rotten on the outside. If you're envious, if you are angry, if you're bickering, if you're rotten on the inside, you're rotten on the outside. And again, you may fool some of the people some of the time, but there's no way you're fooling all of the people all of the time. In leadership, you can't fake it till you make it. You either are genuine or you're gonna be spotted out. You know, my senior pastor, he recently shared a story, and it was a story about a frog that wanted to learn how to fly. In this story of the frog that wants to learn how to fly, he is letting everyone know his desire. He doesn't want to be on the lily pads and doesn't want to be on the water anymore. And so an eagle hears his desire of wanting to learn how to fly. The eagle says, you know what, man, I'm going to help you. I'm going to help you so you can learn how to fly. The frog says, great. What do we do? How do we start the training? And he says, it's simple. Meet me at the cliff and I'm going to show you how to fly. But I'm only going to ask you one thing. The frog says, ask for whatever you want. I want to learn how to fly. The eagle says to him, I want it to be that when people see you flying and they ask you, how did you do this? Let them know that it was me who helped you. That's it. The next day they meet at the cliff. Frog goes up there with a lily pad hanging on, right? He's holding on to the lily pad and the eagle says, you ready? He says, yeah. Hold on to the lily pad, says the eagle. The frog is holding on to the lily pad and the eagle takes the lily pad and he drags it over the cliff, and all of a sudden he lets him go. For a moment there, the frog thinks he's going to fall and the end is near, but actually what happens is that the wind begins to blow and he's so high that as he's coming down, he's gliding, and so it looks like he's flying. All the other frogs in the water on the lily pads below, they were all surprised and they were saying, hey, you're doing it, you're flying. And they were so astonished to see this that they began to ask him, how are you doing this? Who showed you how to do this? And he screamed out, I did it by myself. The fact of the matter is, staying on this topic of leading from the inside out, there are some leaders who are greedy. And the fact of the matter is, when we think about greed, we think about money, but there are some leaders that are greedy because they want attention all for themselves. And when they accomplish the goal, unfortunately, they do not let the people know that they did it with a team. They act as if they did it by themselves. Let me tell you something. As a leader, if you're not willing to share the spotlight, no one is going to be there to share the fire that comes from that heat. No one is going to want to be with you when things get tough. But this goes back to being able to lead from the inside out. There are leaders who are greedy, and they want not just the monetary greed in that sense, but they also want the fame, they want the recognition, and they don't put their team ahead. They don't put their team in front. And so when we talk about leading, we lead from the inside out. We lead from a place of grace and not a place of greed. We lead from the inside out. It starts in here. It starts in our heart. What type of person are we will determine what type of leader we are. I'll leave you with this. Recently, I was talking to an individual who was mentioning to me all of the things they want to accomplish, but that they were scared and nervous. And one of the nervousness was they didn't understand fully where all these desires were coming from. And so I simply asked the question, why are you doing this? What is the purpose behind all of this? What makes you want to do this? And they simply replied by saying, I see a void, and there are things that aren't being spoken about that I'd like to speak about, even though I'm not sure if I'm the most qualified. And I said, it's okay, because it's coming from the heart. It's not coming from anywhere else. It's not ego-based, it's heart-based. And when we talk about a great leader, it's not greed-based, it's not ego-based, it's not egocentric. You can't be a great leader and think that it's all about you. To be a great leader, you have to lead from the inside out, from a place of grace, not a place of greed.